Okay, hi everyone, welcome to this. This is it's quite a trip. It's Source explaining kind of like a version of what actually happened to them, but so that we can relate to it. So I'm gonna go for it, and obviously everything is for you to kind of merge with it and deal with it and hold it, as Source is a being, aren't they? And us looking up to them is just like us looking up to anyone. It's kind of diminishing the whole point of this, that we are Source. Source is us. Whatever we're doing is the journey that they're on, because we are that. So we've got to hold them with the compassion of how we relate to our own journey. I mean, like, Source is going through this on every single level. Like, wow. The bliss and the pain and everything, but the journey, the game, from doubt to divinity, doubting themselves. Ready? Okay, so it kind of starts off, as with all the channeling, it starts off with a concept, usually a kind of quite like kind of holy one, and then it turns more into a story. The taste of even one orange should satisfy the belief in God. The taste of even one orange should satisfy the belief in God. You know, like, we're so able to be this spiritual being if we really wanted to. You know, if you really, really wanted to feel the divinity in every moment, you literally could just be that, like, stoner. It's like, whoa, like, how is this orange even here? Like, the fact that something has evolved, however you want to word it, the fact that something made this thing be here for me right now to taste this on my tongue with taste buds, like, and the color and the texture and how it's got the skin and the smell, and that I'm able to relate to it and equate to it, like, whoa, you know, just so that you know that it is there if you want that. And that's the whole point of kind of a mindfulness, let's say, of really, when we upon this journey of blending into nothingness, that you basically are going to be on a trip, a deeper and deeper trip, where you no longer associate with your perspective, because you're like so in this, like, whoa, and then because I spoke to her, then this happened, and then because I spoke to them, then this happened. And it was just like everything, just like, there's not a single part that ever meant that it was separate, because if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have done that. And you're just like, so, but us going on this journey, we're actually in that space to actually that be normalized, so that you don't go from zero to a DMT trip, which people do, but we actually consciously walk it so that it is normal, and it is actually just like a seed growing into a tree. It doesn't sprout overnight, it's not overwhelming. But that one line, the taste of even one orange should satisfy the belief in God. Like, just, there's a God that created beautiful fruit for me, for example. Like, just satisfy, just go, do you know what, I just believe in God because I believe in oranges. The fact I've seen an orange means that I believe in God, because I don't know of anything else that could create that. I don't know what did create that. So therefore, because I'm aware that something is creating this experience, because I'm aware that my mother and father created me, I believe that they're like, should satisfy. I'm satisfied by the belief in God by just staring at an orange, for frick's sake, because an orange can't even grow without there being an earth and without there being water, and it's just like, whoa, for you to just go, that's how, like, basic we want to be teaching from. We really want to be penetrating into that field that we believe it, because if you did spend the whole of your life staring at an orange, you'd come to that conclusion. But we don't stare at an orange. We go around doing everything else but staring at the orange. Therefore, we don't anchor that is just a flatline truth. And whatever we want to call God, consciousness, creation, same thing. By saying we believe in God, we just say that we believe in, that there's a a point where this began, and that point of beginning is, in theory, is theoretically the concept of God. So, you know, I love that, the taste of my orange. You know, that you could just write a whole book about it. Like every single line that you go into these deep channeled pieces, you're just like, that one line explains everything. And we know that everything is equal, everything's the same. You can stare at a candle and talk about that and go, this one candle should satisfy the belief in God. Of wax, I don't know if this wax actually comes from bees. That's one thing I've never known where wax comes from. Does it all come from bees? I don't actually know. That's one thing. I was talking about it the other day with my daughter. I was like, I don't actually know that. Like, what is wax? But for example, the idea of someone needing light, the idea of someone being able to know what a circle is, the idea of someone manufacturing this, the idea that someone could even conceive of manufacturing this for the purpose of having a use, like, it kind of satisfies the belief in a higher power of the idea of there being a creator, because we are creative. So use that in everything you do, and also treat that just like any deep meditation practice that's like one-pointedness. The fact that we focus on one point is because that one point holds everything, because it's the same story. It's the same story. So that's why I say in your programs, it's not really about what you're teaching. You're teaching the idea of truth. You're teaching the idea of expression. You're teaching the idea that you're the creator. You're teaching that. That's the main goal, isn't it? To awaken people to that idea. So teach whatever method you want. Same story. Teach how to make candles. Teach how to grow oranges. The point is that we're actually creating something from an idea, which is the point and the beginning of the universe, meaning that we're creator, meaning that we're it. that's one line. Okay. The naming of even one piece of fruit shall equate to divine will and creation, for no man can come up with all but one idea other than the original idea of creation. So that's kind of what I just explained there, just the free flowing of just of that baseline of higher consciousness of like boom, 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 duh, belief in God, yeah. The naming of even one piece of fruit shall equate to divine will. You know, we've got divine will to be here. And creation. For no man can come up with all but one idea other than the original idea of creation. There's not a higher idea of how this all came here. There's not a higher idea. You will always come back to the point of creation. So even if you call God creation, we're talking about the same thing. Consciousness, light, God, source. We're just talking about the idea of expanding. And you can't come up with a more original idea than creation. People can say evolution. It's just like next, deeper. Okay, of evolution, yeah, that little fish chose to come out of the water because it had an idea. It had, oh, what if I created some legs to walk on the land? Yeah, I reckon I'll give it a go. You know? There shall be no idea of anything other than that which I have already thought of. There shall be no idea of anything other than that which I've already thought of. So you can play around with that for your own concept of there shall be no idea other than the idea of an idea. That's how I like to think of things like that. Or rather than taking it so far as in, okay, creators already thought about everything that's going to happen. That comes later in the program. As in, oh, everything's already been done. Am I doing it? Is it new? Oh my God, is it happening somewhere else in the universe? It's just like, it's kind of not the idea. Sink into this deeper truth. It's kind of the idea of the idea that's happening everywhere. We're all living the same story. It's not specified like, okay, is there another Emily in another dimension saying these exact words? It's too much for this. You know, it just made me feel like it doesn't help me thinking farther than that, other than knowing the deeper truth that the enjoyable and the reason for being, the actual motivation for being, is the idea that we are the idea that someone came up with being. That's more interesting. That's more helpful. That's more valuable than kind of taking it in that way, like there's no other idea than anything that I haven't thought of. P.S. You're the creator. So it's kind of like tunes into the cells, being like, any idea you've got does come from divine nowness. So even the idea of having an idea is like, where did that idea come from? Oh, well, it come from that person doing that, and then that music, and then that the weather was like that, so I thought I'd do that. And it's like, well, there's no other idea other than the original idea of expanding creator, of a creator going, I can be separate and it's okay. So it's like widening your perspective to be like, they're not saying everything's happening, it's all been done. It's like, the only reason that I'm doing this now is because of that original idea of creator to expand. So they have not thought of we can't think of anything that they haven't thought of, because the only reason I'm here is because of what they thought of originally. In one perspective. Obviously there's infinite perspectives, so take whatever's helpful for you. For you are me, and you see yourself as something unique, of which ye are. But I am all that is, and that is the reason all are unique. For I deemed it to be so, for I am all that I am. For you are me, so we are creator, we know that. And you see yourself as something unique. You see yourself as something unique. I see myself as something unique, in theory. Of which you are, but I am all that is. Creator's all that is, so creator is us. And that is the reason all are unique. For I deemed it to be so, for I am all that I am. So like, that's almost like their own choice. It's their choice to say. It's so like, yeah. It's like, creator's everything. So everyone's unique because they are everything. Because they're only one. Like, creator is unique, but we are creator. So you are unique, but that's because you're creator. Creator's unique. Here I am speak, for I am waits for no man who has anything other than devotion to another. It is not I am you are waiting to bow to. It is one another. Dig that. It is not I am you are waiting to bow to. It is one another. Like, you know how it feels when we're so peer-to-peer, eye to eye. It feels so good to serve each other, but we know that in that exact moment that, oh, I made a video of you, you've allowed me to be witnessed. You know, the idea of creator is one. Creator then said, oh, I am. And in that moment of I am, creator realized that they were looking at a reflection of themselves and said, oh, I'm here. Well, what's all this on the outside? And in that moment, I am split to look at the reflection, because I am is outside as well. So I am being the outside perspective of the void with the inner. I am, oh, that means that I'm here and something else is there. So then that perspective, because they are that perspective, so they looked in at itself, they got scared, and they wondered, oh, I hope that I'm not separate forever, because I am. So then they merged back into the one. And then in that one, they had a cosmic bliss explosion and created all that is, because they knew that you could always come back to oneself. So like, when I serve you, you're allowing me the perspective to be witnessed, and vice versa. Without you witnessing me, it doesn't complete the energy. It doesn't complete the story. That's why we're all so important. But then in that moment that I've served you, you serve me. So it's like, well, where does it begin? I'm bowing at your feet, you're bowing at mine. But the point is that we're actually wanting to experience the reverence for one another, to actually experience what I am itself experienced. We're separate. Oh no, we're not. It is in a single grain of rice of which you wish, you desperately yearn to pray and serve. For if life was that divine, it would be too simple. So why I say that is because I'm a bit like, whoa, it's because it's not I am you're waiting to bow to, it's one another. It is a single grain of rice of which you wish. Bow a single grain of rice to feel that. It's not this thing like human to human, like you can bow, I can bow to a candle. We do that, like cover that in the beginning, yeah, about the orange. You can bow to anything and experience that exact relationship of which you're here to experience. That's the funny part of it. Humans don't need humans to experience what they're here for. You literally just need, that's why I say in that like loneliness piece, you literally just need to say, I'm with a finger, to delve into the quantum and be like, what is this thing? Oh my gosh, whoa, whoa. And that's kind of, I imagine, when we're in the oneness, when the nothingness, that's how it'll be perceived, because you'll be so into the journey of reflecting the awareness of another and therefore receiving from yourself that you don't know where the merging line, you don't have a merging line of them and you know, you don't need to look for something to reflect back of. You are understanding that that is what you're here for, therefore you are only perceiving it in that way. You desperately yearn to pray and serve. If it was that, if life was that divine, it would be too simple. As in, if we were supposed to be able to experience that now in human form, well, that'll be it. I'd be bowing and tripping out psychedelically, DMT, whoa, fucking candle, man, like, the candle, like, it's me, I'm that, I'm observing it, it's observing me, we're all here together, this is like, oh my god, yeah, but that's not actually what humans, this thing's for. That's what higher dimensions are for. Why? Because it'd be too simple if it was that. If it was that, we'd all just do that. I don't mean always still sit around, but we'd all just do that. We would all be so full of gratitude, so like mind-bendingly, as I say, desperate to pray and serve, so just like praying the whole time, like, oh God, I understand, I'm witnessing, I'm the reflection, oh, it's all the same, I get it, yeah, but it's like, that's, to be that is to actually be it. Right now, it's not to try and be it, desperate to experience that. The embodiment process of evolution is that you're gonna be that, be it, as in emerging non-physical energetic being. But right now you're not. Yeah, you are, but it's the perspective. You would still be in the perspective of consciously trying to cut through to experience that, instead of what we want to do now is use those truths as practice to slowly go through the transition of actually being that. It's just the same as anything else. You can't just, oh, I'm God. Okay, so what's God going to do today? You know, you do actually live it. We always say, you know, quote about the enlightened person still goes to the toilet tomorrow and wipes their bum. It doesn't mean anything. It means the transcendence. You're actually here to transcend. You're actually here to keep going through these loops of upgrade, 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 upgrade. Oh, I've embodied, upgrade, upgrade. Oh, I've embodied. Yeah. So don't think that it's like, oh, I am just going to pray to oranges all the time and be it. Like, that's not the point. The point is that knowing that that is going to be the point, it makes it so much more fun to actually walk the journey of that specific embodiment, you know. Ugh, so juicy. Oh, juicy. For it would be too simple. That's what they actually say. It would be too simple. Okay, I love God, I bow down to God, and my whole time is just spent on, you know, the whole thing. I don't drink, would be too simple. We wouldn't even, like, I'm not saying we wouldn't have children, but we wouldn't do anything other than that. We wouldn't actually have this experience of physical. We wouldn't have the experience of separation to love. We wouldn't have the experience of being used, the perception of being used, and the experience of actually breaking free. Like, that's the experience. The experience that we're on is actually this journey that we get to take. It's not to get to understand that we're God. It's to embody this chapter by chapter, episode by episode, series. For you love referring to the size as the amount, and no man ever stops to denounce the version of reality where if that shall be yours, then that shall be mine. And all would bow to an ant, for they realize they are within me. For you love referring to the size as the amount. So that was kind of hinting to this thing like, oh, I have such a big heart. You know, oh, how could I find God in a candle? I want to find God in a church, in a beach, in a rainforest. God's in an eyelash, whatever, yeah? An eyelash. You can't have the eyelash without being like, how did the body get bloody made? And no man ever stops to denounce the version of reality where if that shall be yours, then that shall be mine. As in, no man would then give up. I don't want to, I'll let you feel into that because that can be very, very personal to that. And no man ever stops to denounce the version of reality where if that shall be yours, then that shall be mine. And all would bow to an ant, for they realize they are within me. Unbearable diminishing of the sound of I am, for all who hear me speak know my name and know my call. There is not a single soul who left my side while sweltering as the slave. For they all knew in their deepest hearts of the game, and they played it. We were enslaved. We knew what was going on. We played the game. God was right there beside us being like, go for it, mate. It's the freaking game, bruv. You know, it's the game. It is the game. Enslavement to freedom. It's the game. When we're in lower 5D, we're going to be like, oh, what more? Oh, I felt so bloody trapped in low 5D. You know, I wanted, you know, oh, I felt so free. I had cars and money and programs and retreats and exquisite channeling. But then, like, you know, 2,000 years later, it's like, or however long, yeah, I'm not saying I know how long a dimension would last, but then you're like, oh, what are they doing in 60? What are they doing up there, mate? So whilst we're here, why I say that is like in that lower 5D, then we'd go back into the cycle of feeling like a slave. We'd go back. I mean, I wasn't going to touch on this, but we'd go back to feeling like, oh, I'm serving others all the time. Yeah, I know it helps me, but I'm sick of serving them. They figure it out themselves. Do you know what? They don't understand a bloody thing. Do you know what? Let's freaking oppress them. And the cycle will happen again. So you go through these cycles of slavery to liberation. And I'm not saying that like oh, that's going to happen. But in some reality, you can understand the dark being high dimensional. Because that's the game. Service to others, service to self. Service to others, service to self. But it's from a higher perspective, because obviously, you know, there's higher entities that are like, let's, you know, confuse the humans, but they're higher dimensional. How can they do that? Well, because they probably have been there for like 2,000 years and they're like, for fuck's sake, these people aren't getting it. Let's mess it up. Let's play the game. But the fact is, it's a game, because why would they then come and hurt you? Why would they come and confuse you? Because they know that you're going to ascend and it doesn't really mean anything. They know that it gives the light more things to do, because they obviously have ascended, so they know what the game is. So, you know, what do we do in some? We know that the game is to help people. We can't give them the answer. It's already this like freedom but slavery, like, well, you got to figure out for yourself, because they do neurologically. If you give someone the answer, they haven't made the neural pathways themselves, so it's not like in the right place in the brain. It's actually just put in somewhere as like, oh, Emily said that once. Not talking about me and you, I'm talking about like actual, you know, in a meditation class where people are like, I just don't know how to meditate. It's like, okay, we actually have to do it. I can't actually talk about meditation and then you won't do it. You know, so it's like holding them at this very arm's length, being like, I have to treat you like a bit like you're the slave, and I have to like let you figure out for yourself, kind of thing. On this very like genuine way, like it's all, the whole universe is built on love. Like being enslaved is a loving experience because you get to walk to freedom. So just putting that out there. Just putting out there saying, not a single soul who left my side while sweltering as a slave, for all knew in their deepest hearts of the game and played it. Okay, so just play the game. Play the game. It's all good. You're playing the light here, baby. Really declare that to yourself. Be like, oh my God, I'm actually playing the light. Like, I don't have to even consider that I'm ever doing anything bad. I don't have to, that is totally gone out of my awareness. I'm not trying to do anything bad. I don't care if it's smoking a cigarette, you know, eating a pickled onion, or making a video that might offend someone. I know that I'm not literally, I know that I'm literally, I've declared to my heart, I'm here to serve the light. So I don't even think about it. I'm just like, I've done the bad stuff in my past lives. Now I'm on this one. I'm on this wave of the frequency. I'm on the up. For what else does one choose other than to walk away on a crowded street and go for the adventure of unification from separation of mother, father, source, God? So what else does one choose other than to walk away on a crowded street? Yeah, like you're going to be in a situation where you feel you've got all the stuff that you'd ever need, and then you're just like, do you know what, there's something else that I'm missing. We're just going over here for a little adventure. I'm just nipping off for a minute because there's something deep within your yearning. What a day that would be. The fear, the denial, the 7 keys of unification from the dream, or that be called of a nightmare of separation from a child. Your child. You as the mother, and the pain of the idea of just how she is, and the worry for yourself gets taken over by being strong for her and building your own resilience for them. Just as you, the teacher, teaches and raises yourself to hold the space for ignorant souls, such do I, for I have understood all whom walk my lands, for I began it all, and I experienced it all, and I know it all. So in the perspective of this, that a nightmare would be that you've been separated from your child, yeah? And then like they always relate things like this to motherhood and children to me, because obviously I'm walking that physical embodied choice point. So you as the mother, and the pain of the idea of just how she is. So it's almost like putting yourself in these 2 perspectives. Amazing, great life, ascension. Other one, enslavement, mass programming. So let's just say the idea of mass programming is like a child being separated from you. But then the idea of getting yourself through that by being strong for them and not giving up the fight to like see them again if you lost your child, that idea of that it's more important to be strong for them and create a safe place for them to come when they've been found, kind of thing. Building your own resilience, being like, I am a badass, I am calm, I'm at peace, I trust, I know it's coming, rather than nervous wreck and being like just a bag of worries if when they return. Just like that, as the teachers, just as like us as our teachers, we raise ourselves to hold space for the ignorant souls. And Source is saying, so do they, because all who walk their lands, they began it all, so they've experienced it, so they know it all. So almost like sit in that space for yourself and be like, I know they're suffering, I know they feel that, I know they feel pain, but I've got to be strong to make sure they've got a place to come. Just like Source is being like, if you want me to be perceived as weak, then so be it. But that in your best case scenario, you'd be like, I reckon that Source has got a good place for me to go. You know, so it's not like we're skirting around the issue of like people being lost or a child being lost and the mother not being concerned and like oh, they're so strong, oh, they must be suppressing it or anything like that. It's more like, what will be the best thing for a leader? And let's use the case of mother and child. What will be the best case for that mother and child is actually to not let that fear have ruined their life, so that when that child comes home, that let's say it in a nicer way, that the child's left and said, I don't want to be around you anymore. We'll say that. That's a better thing. Because we make a choice to leave source God. Perfect. Because that thing of like kidnap or something, it was a bit like, pointless. Mother, child says 15, I'm moving out. 16, I'm moving out. I don't love you. You haven't done what I needed you to do. I'm off. And the mum's like, hasn't done what they needed them to do. What would be the best thing for the mum to do? Go angry, call them ungrateful, roll their eyes at them, go, oh, you'll be back? What? Like, no, it will be to create the greatest environment for them to return to and for them to be attracted to come to. So that's our job as teachers. Stepping onto the pastures of free will for me was one of true sovereignty. For I understood what I was for me, not for you or someone watching. But as I journeyed, I realized I wanted someone else there to say well done, or wow, or have the high five. This is Source saying this. This is the next part of the story. So Source then says, so let's just cover that a sec. Stepping onto the pastures of free will for Source was one of true sovereignty, for they understood what they were for themselves, not for anyone else, or not for someone watching. So, oh, okay, I'm sovereign, I'm God. And it wasn't because the dark was like the void was looking at them. They were just like, oh, I'm God. I'm creator. I'm a creative being. I'm able to make my own decisions. So they weren't doing it for anyone else. But as they journeyed, they realized they actually did want someone else there to say well done. Or, wow. Or have a high five. God, I realised that I have a choice of how I perceive myself. I'd made that for myself and they were fine. That was their, they were like, wow, I did that. But they were like, they looked around, they kind of was like, it'd be nice to kind of validate this with someone, just to be like, yay, me too. Oh, cool. Just like what we're doing. Source then says, I wanted to fit in. I then wanted to experience what it would be like to blend in. I wanted to know what it was like to not be the one. And so the darkness was birthed. Okay? So when Source God realized, okay, here's the void, here's the separation, but Source God was like, no, when it separated, and then this part's going, oh wow, like I'm God. Let's say